This is Eyewitness News, Maryland's most complete television news service. With Jerry Turner, Al Sanders, and the entire Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, everybody. Right now, a padding scandal has blown up in the faces of some workers at Maryland's Employment Security Administration. Al has this exclusive report on cheating that's been uncovered at the Utah Street facility.
And Jerry, that is in essence what this report is all about. Cheating. An attempt by some employees to make the job placement division look better than it is.
It is now out in the open. A three-member panel has found that roughly 1,000 of the 16,000 job placements channeled through this office over 2 years never happened that way at all. This is what did happen. From early 1977 until early 1979, about a dozen workers here lied about the number of people who found jobs through this office. They simply used the names of clients who came here for help, but found jobs on their own. The question becomes, why did they do it? And did those workers profit by the lie?
Essentially not. In the 2-year period we're talking about, the supervisory staff was stable. There were not a lot of promotions made.
Frank, do you know for a fact that nobody involved in the padding was promoted because of it?
I can't give you as fact case by case. I would say that the majority of them continued at in their same staff position during that 2-year period and the period following.
And according to Heinz, neither did this department profit by the padding.
It seems apparent to me that a quota, perhaps unwritten, or at the very least, intense pressure has been placed on workers here to place applicants to the jobs you see on the screen. The question is whether that pressure has been intense enough to cause some workers to actually lie or pad the number of jobs actually filled by this office.
We are not to assume that any person in this room is guilty of padding the placement rolls. My purpose is to find out about the pressure that goes with the job.
No pressure at all. Sometimes I become frustrated because everyone that comes through that door, you understand that they have problems, and with the job market being as it is in the economy, that you find yourself maybe getting frustrated in the fact that you don't have the jobs that you can send the individuals on or place them on.
We are strengthening our validation process by which we audit ourselves to follow up to make sure that a placement claimed is indeed a legitimate placement. And all of those activities together have led to an end of this particular activity, and I'm sure our records are clean now.
Do you carry any of the blame for what's happened?
As the person at the top of the agency, I have to.
All told, a dozen employees were disciplined, some transferred, and the former office manager has retired after 35 years of service. Nobody was fired.
The Attorney General's office has found no criminal laws broken in its investigation of the padding. But the U.S. Department of Labor has taken no action to date in the matter, so the padding incident may not be over. A veteran auto worker, possibly upset about company benefits for laid-off employees, has finally surrendered to police in Detroit after holding 17 hostages at gunpoint at the Fisher Body plant. The gunman, 47-year-old Franklin Rainey, was finally persuaded to surrender after a friend pleaded with him. Rainey released the hostages unharmed. Plant officials said he had never caused any trouble before. Tonight, Ocean City police have arrested 22-year-old Joseph Charlie of Chicane, Pennsylvania, and have charged him with the July 20th attack on an Ocean City lifeguard. The lifeguard, Al Fiedler, suffered a broken back when he was thrown from a 12-foot-high beach lookout chair. Police are still looking for 2 other suspects. 31-year-old John Robert Hughes faces rape charges tonight, and that arrest tops our crime beat. Hughes was picked up on charges of raping 4 elementary school girls in Baltimore as they were on their way to school. Hughes has been in a similar scrape before. He is currently on parole for a 1971 rape and a 1974 robbery conviction.
And still more violence in the city today, this time on Archer Street. Police now say that an autopsy shows 33-year-old Joanne Medinger of the 4800 block of Archer Street was beaten to death. The report also shows that she had been dead about 3 days when her body was discovered. Also today, 20-year-old Diane Phillips of Herbert Street died of stab wounds, a result of an argument with another woman in the 2200 block of Utah Place. Ms. Phillips was taken to Maryland General by a man who was also stabbed during the incident, but he was not badly hurt. Tonight, police are still trying to find out just what happened to a northeast Baltimore woman whose partially nude body was found in a wooded section of Druid Hill Park. Kevin Brown has more on that story.
Monday, Joanne Medinger dropped off her son at a daycare center and was heading to her job here on Park Avenue. Last night, Lloyd Powers was walking to work through Druid Hill Park. He called police.
And he had indicated to us at that time that he had discovered a body of a woman in Druid Hill Park near a maintenance area. Obviously, we responded to his call, and he led us to an area where, in fact, we did find a body. The body was of a white female. She was nude from the waist down, lying with her hands bound, and was in a rapid stage of decomposition.
This morning, police began looking for the victim's car.
This morning, we began to broadcast to our officers in the field a locate on a gold Pinto that we knew she owned and that we knew she was last seen in. That Pinto was subsequently recovered this morning just after 10 o'clock in the rear of the 2000 block of Utah Place. It has been processed and we're waiting for the results.
The victim, Joanne Medinger, was 33 years old. She lived at 4812 Hamilton Avenue. Police don't know why she was killed. They have no suspects. In Druid Hill Park, Kevin Brown, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Officials in Orlando are counting up the damage from the latest outbreak of rioting last night, but have decided against imposing a curfew this evening. They are hopeful that due to a strong display of police, there will not be a repeat of violence, but that's what they thought last night when hundreds of blacks raced through stores, looting and burning. The 171 Iranians arrested during Sunday's violent anti-American demonstrations are still causing problems for police. First, they thwarted attempts to deport them by refusing to tell police their names, and now they've gone on a hunger strike. Police have tried to feed them, but they will accept only sugar and warm water. The FBI and Baltimore County Police say tonight that they've broken a major interstate burglary and stolen goods ring and have indicted 10 people. Don Scott and Instant Eye report the burglars and fences specialized in certain types of merchandise.
The local FBI office's conference room tonight looks like a pro shop at a country club. It should. That's where all this equipment came from. That's from where a ring of 10 people took it over the past 5 years. All this golf equipment came from 6 courses, 5 of them in Maryland and 1 in Pennsylvania. And they didn't just take clubs and bags. They also took shoes and the 2 top brands of golf balls. And according to the FBI agent who supervised the investigation, golf was only one phase of it.
The other phase, other than the golf equipment, involved the theft and fencing of farm and garden equipment, chainsaws, marine equipment, outboard motors.
This Dundalk man is said to be the kingpin of this part of the ring. He's one of 2 men still being sought.
We're still looking for 2 individuals. One is the individual we only know right now is John. The second individual is named Bernard Kaufman. He's from the Dundalk area. We still have warrants for his arrest.
If you know where Bernard Kaufman of Dundalk is, the FBI and Baltimore County Police would like to hear from you. Don Scott, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Police are still trying to come up with a dollar figure in a Postal Service robbery today. Shortly before 11 o'clock this morning, somebody broke into a post office Jeep at Woodbridge Road and Wildwood Parkway. The missing list includes an unknown number of Social Security, railroad retirement, and veterans retirement checks. So far, there have been no arrests.
Coming up, how do Maryland's Democratic delegates feel about an open convention? We'll have the results of a special Eyewitness News poll.
And there may be some changes behind the bars of Maryland's correctional facilities. Don Scott has the Instant Eye story next right here on Channel 13's Eyewitness News. Tonight, Maryland and the various city and county jails across the state are a week and a half away from getting some new corrections officers. Don Scott and Instant Eye say 70 recruits are being trained right now, and the rookies say they're ready to change the system.
This is a class at the Maryland Correctional Training Academy in Baltimore County, where in 4 weeks the state prepares men and women to work in county and city jails and its own correctional facilities.
Despite the fact that all we've showed you thus far in this story is harsh physical activity, the people who run this Correctional Officer Academy say there's more to the training than that.
Well, our main emphasis is on human relations and those kinds of things that correctional officers are dealing with 90 to 95% of their time. The kinds of things you probably see here today are the action-oriented things, but we hope that with the emphasis on the other end, the human relations, that this kind of training won't be necessary.
What I was showing them was just a basic move in case a thief or inmate or anyone attack you from behind, because attacking from behind is something that you don't have a defense for, really. And I'm trying to show them just how to keep from getting choked out.
You may have noticed a lot of women in the class. What motivates a woman? What motivates anyone in this day and age to want to become a correctional officer?
I think they need good people in the system, and I care about the way things are going in corrections, and I hope to have a part in changing the things. We have some people in correction that have been in for a long time, and they, have their way of doing things, and now they're giving the prisoners more rights, and I think that's the way it should be.
We are considered professionals. We take a different look on a situation. We don't go in tough bully type anymore. Go in more with a psychology, basic. Help the inmate, not to throw him, beat him up, or shove him around.
In spite of what we saw today, though, right? The training.
Well, the training comes in when riot situations. We hope we never use it.
But they're ready. In Hernwood, Don Scott, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Baltimore city officials are worried that a Reagan in the White House will mean aid money behind bars. So they've rushed a $32 million urban development application through the Board of Estimates, hoping to beat a path to the bank in case Reagan beats Jimmy Carter. A lot of people had their say about the bay today on Capitol Hill. Senator Charles Mathias held hearings on 2 bills seeking to coordinate future research offshore. One of the bills is sponsored by Mathias. The other has been introduced by Congressman Bob Bellman. Both call for a creation of a federal agency to oversee an action plan for the Chesapeake Bay.
And, Jerry, that hearing could be the last one Mathias will hold if a certain Democrat has his way. The challenger's name is Edward Conroy, and he'd like a seat in the U.S. Senate very much. His wife was in the audience as her state senator husband told reporters assembled at the Lord Baltimore Hotel that he was running as a traditional Democrat, and that for the past 12 years, Maryland has been represented by a minority that actually circulates within a minority.
Right now, I am the underdog in this campaign. Many people of this state don't even know my name, but you and the press will change that. Most Marylanders know my opponent's name, but they don't really know what he stands for. I will change that.
Also lending an ear to the legislator from Prince George's County, the state's Lieutenant Governor, Sam Bogley. Well, there seems to be some difference of opinion between Billy Carter and the Justice Department tonight. Billy says he never saw any State Department cables about Libya, and he says Jimmy will back up his story. But Justice investigators say that Billy told them he did get copies of those dispatches. Meanwhile, the president's canceled the Cleveland fundraiser set for Monday to appear before a Senate subcommittee looking into Billygate. The owner of the Oreos is going to bat tonight for Democrats who want another of their number in the White House come fall. Edward Bennett Williams is heading up the Dump Carter movement. The Washington attorney will serve as chairman of the committee for a continued open convention. That group wants to free delegates from the rule binding them to the candidates they are now committed to nominate. Well, should delegates elected to vote for a specific presidential candidate at the Democratic convention be released from that commitment as the convention begins? That controversy over a so-called open convention is the subject of our exclusive Eyewitness News poll. Eyewitness News has been talking to delegates committed to both Carter and Kennedy. Here are the results. We talked to 20 of 26 Kennedy delegates. 18 favor an open floor, while the remaining 2 opposed it. Now we talked to 27 of the 32 Carter delegates. All 27 oppose the open convention proposal, including Governor Hughes. Delegates elected in the Maryland primary are bound by state law to vote for candidates they were chosen to represent on the convention's first ballot. If the convention defeats this Carter-backed plan, then it would supersede state law, and Carter candidates could then vote for whomever they choose. When we return, Bob Turk explains why tomorrow's weather will be one double H of a day.
I can't wait to get to that explanation. The hot and humid details in Robert's AccuWeather forecast next right here on Channel 13's Eyewitness News.
You coax the blues right out of...
And now, here's Robert to explain a little more than the double H we talked about a few moments ago.
Right, he has some tall explaining to do. Another freebie here. Wait till Uncle Sugar hears about this one.
Well, I'll tell you, I could insulate my house with T-shirts. I wish I could. I appreciate this. This is from the Liberty Road Community Theater. They're presenting MAME tonight and tomorrow night and Saturday night at 8 p.m. at the Randallstown Senior High. That's at 4000 Offutt Road. And very nice T-shirt, MAME. Isn't that nice? Good show. Going to be a good show. So if you're in the neighborhood, you might want to stop in 8 o'clock. We have some H&H weather the next couple of days. Very hot, very humid, and with that heat and humidity, that always brings up the chance of those ever-present thunderstorms. And I think we're going to escape any thunderstorms tonight. I'll show you why in just a minute. But tomorrow afternoon, a real good chance between 4 and 8 o'clock of picking up a thunderstorm. And again, Saturday afternoon, and probably again Sunday afternoon. Looks like we're going to get very little relief, any great relief, from the hot, humid weather the next few days. Right now in Baltimore, skies are generally hazy. We're at 88 degrees, and that's 31 Celsius. Our high at the airport, 91. In the city, 94 degrees today. Humidity, rather sticky, 42%. The wind south at 8 miles an hour. The barometer, 29.98, and it was falling the last hour. I think it's going to level off, however. The air quality this afternoon, not the greatest. 82 put us in the moderate range this afternoon. High tide, 11:02 in the morning. Low tide tomorrow, 4:56 in the early morning. Sunrise is 6:07, and it sets now at 8:19. Yes, every day we seem to lose about a minute of that sunlight. Here's that typical haze that was over the city this afternoon. You can see quite a bit of it. Not real clean air, a lot of moisture in the air, and that's what causes this low-lying haze. If you were flying today, you probably saw an awful lot of it, especially up around 4,000 or 5,000 feet. There's a lot of it today. Kind of a still day, not a whole lot of wind with us either. Let's take a look at Skytrack. Fresh from space, from 22,300 miles in space. Here is the state of Maryland. As you can see, it's fair and clear on the eastern shore in Delaware. Through Baltimore, we do have a few clouds, but the real bulk of the clouds stayed up to our north. Through northern Pennsylvania, a good deal of heavy cloudiness, and you can see a good thunderstorm right over here. You see it right there? That's a nice big thunderstorm, and it's a long way off, and it's not moving toward our region. It's generally moving east to northeast, so it looks like we're going to miss any showers from that area. We do have some more clouds over West Virginia. You can see a little line of clouds here, and some of the stuff in western Pennsylvania might come close enough later tonight and tomorrow morning early that we might pick up a shower. The real bulk of the showers, the heavier stuff, was expected to develop out here over Illinois and Indiana. There's some showers out there, but it's a pretty thin line, you can see. This is a cold front. There's some drier, cooler air up here to the north. Chicago dropped today from the low 90s into the mid 80s, and it's very hot down here in the southern part of this particular system. Temperatures near 100 degrees in Kentucky and Tennessee. Some of that very hot air is moving to the northeast. Richmond could see 100 tomorrow. Even D.C. could see 100 degrees tomorrow. Let's take a look at Sky Eye Live now, and you'll see there's nothing at all in that area except some ground clutter. We do have that one shower north of Harrisburg. It's just showing up as a little blurb, so it's not that strong really, but there's nothing at all in our local area that's going to bother us tonight. We may see some showers developing by 11 o'clock over West Virginia, and if we see those, we'll see them on Sky Eye and Sky Track. This afternoon, high pressure right off the Maryland-Virginia coast, giving us southerly warm air. A warm front, it's a very weak warm front, is moving through the area. We'll start to get some real hot, humid air tomorrow. This cold front is weakening now. We thought we were going to have a real nice cool blast from Canada. It's weakening. The secondary cold front may go through on Saturday and might dry things out a little bit later in the weekend, but no great relief, because here's what's going to happen. The cold front tomorrow will be just down to our south, and later tomorrow and tomorrow night it'll start moving back to the north as a warm front, and that'll keep us in the hot air. 97 in Atlanta tomorrow, 97 down in Roanoke and in Richmond. It could be 100 degrees. 85 Westminster, 87 Salisbury, 87 Dover, 90 Richmond, 93 in D.C. Southwest winds 5 to 12 knots. 76 is your bay water temperature. Near 70 the ocean water temperature. The weekend forecast for the ocean, hazy sunshine, mid-80s. Year ago, sunny, 84, 71. And the forecast for tonight, let's call it fair and mild. Perhaps a shower might develop by tomorrow morning. It's a slim chance, low around 73. Tomorrow, it'll be a hot, humid day. A thunderstorm is likely tomorrow afternoon, 90 to 95, and if we get 4 or 5 hours of hot sun, we could see 98 degrees. The record tomorrow is 97, so we'll be close to a record. And don't forget, I'll be in Ocean City Saturday at 12 noon for the 16 Wet Best Body on the Beach contest. It's going to be fun. We'll see you there. If you're in Ocean City, stop by. You're going to be there, aren't you?
Well, I'm certainly going to be there. There's no contest if I come.
That's true.
I mean, I'm it.
Okay. Even when you're wet?
Wet or dry. Yes.
We'll
shame
see.
on you, Albert.
We'll see.
All right.
All right. The boss of Bedrock, a Wichita Wiggle watcher, and the biggest Big Apple top our people making news tonight. The guy in the middle is the type you'd call yabba dabba durable. Two folks on his flanks are his creators. William Hanna and Joseph Barbera say Fred Flintstone is the world's most watched TV personality. Cartoonists say every minute of every day someone somewhere is watching the Flintstones. Kansas Kent Lovern squirms on the sidelines of a slithering spectacle at the Wichita City Library. He's cheering on his entry in the second annual Worm Race. The youngster's enthusiasm paid off. His living slinky went slip-sliding away to a second-place finish. No worms in this apple. It's a gift from New York Mayor Ed Koch to Texas Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby. The Gov couldn't top the apple, but the cast of the NBC series Texas sure topped Koch. They gave him an authentic Lone Star cowboy hat to wear at the upcoming Democratic convention. And coming up, those lottery computers may be costing merchants in the state more than the daily payout. Kevin Brown explains.
And life is looking up for a lot of recent college graduates. That story coming up on Channel 13's Eyewitness News. Lottery ticket vendors may be losing money tonight at the hands of their computer terminals. The president of the State Lottery Merchants Association says the electronic brains sometimes make mistakes. Kevin Brown and Instant Eye have more on the story.
The merchants say the lottery computer is off, that in some transactions, either the customer or the merchant is shortchanged.
And the lottery has fixed the machine since yesterday, but this, instead of saying $1, it showed that we owed the customer $101. I'm the executive director of the Lottery Association. I have many complaints about agents being short. We even given our help polygraph tests to determine what the problem is, and they have always come out okay. And we're approximately $2,000 short. It's documented for 3 years.
Right in front of a customer, the total on the board switched from $7 to $9 when the customer said that he'd only bought $7, and on a hand count, $7 was right.
How much money do you think you've lost?
I probably would have to, I'll be conservative and say at least $500 over the past few months.
Do you feel that the lottery terminals around the state are accurate?
Yes, I would have to make the assumption that they're accurate. If, in my office, I have no record of numerous complaints until this complaint came up and officially came to me, I think, on Monday of this week.
Punky says the one complaint he has received from Mrs. Baker was looked into and the computer was adjusted. And if that adjustment does not work, another one will be tried. He also says some mistakes may be due to human error. How are you so sure, though, that that's not the problem?
Well, the young lady that I have that operates my machine 40 hours a week, and she's been with me for 15 months. In the beginning, when she was learning to operate the machine, she was maybe $1.50 a month out, one way or the other, either maybe 50 cents over, 50 cents short. All of a sudden, a girl doesn't come up $27.50 short.
With Instant Eye, Kevin Brown, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
Rothenhaver tells Eyewitness News the merchants will file a class action suit next week to recover the $80,000 they say the state lottery owes them. The vendors say the state overcharged them on mandatory insurance premiums. State Lottery Chief Punky says the extra money is needed to cover future insurance needs. Well, if you're just out of school, chances are you're not living badly tonight. The College Placement Council says starting salaries for college grads are up across the board. Engineering students lead the pack, commanding offers approaching $24,000 a year. Business majors are a distant second, but few are complaining. New accountants are receiving yearly salaries of over $15,000. But down a bit tonight is the state take from the sale of booze and cigarettes. Maryland Comptroller Louis Goldstein says $25.5 million in alcohol and tobacco tax revenue has been deposited in the county coffers. That's slightly less than the $25.6 million placed in the bank last year. Baltimore netted the largest share of this year's tax money, $5.7 million.
The federal investigation into county zoning improprieties digs tonight into the personal records of Baltimore County Councilman Gary Huttles. The Evening Sun reports that prosecutors have subpoenaed financial statements in an attempt to trace non-county business deals between Huttles and the Board of Appeals Chairman Walter Reiter. When we return, Klaus Wagner talks to the last Colts draft pick in a live Instant Eye report.
And the O's sneak by the Rangers again. Klaus has their story and all the sports next, right here on Channel 13's Eyewitness News.
Bring up us.
Almost didn't.
Now to sports and Klaus Wagner, and coming up later tonight, one of the big baseball events of the season out in Texas with Steve Stone going for a
number 17, you know, and a lot of people question because he hadn't, what the most wins he'd had was like 11 or 12 in his career so far, and the guy is for real. He's for real on the field, and he's for real off the field. A great guy, and going for number 17 plus a record, tying a club record tonight. Gaylord, or not Gaylord, but Dave McNally's record of 15 straight.
For him, though, you notice?
They are. He's having one of those years like Flanagan did last year. Nothing goes wrong. Everything goes right for you. And Palmer, who's pitching well, can't get the runs some of the time. Last night he got a break. He did win his 10th game. But the Orioles will wrap it up down in Arlington for the year with the final game of the 3-game series tonight. And they pulled both wins out with really, as we mentioned, timely early hits, as Al said, taking the lead, then hanging on at the end with clutch relief help out of the bullpen, which may be an indication of things turning their way now, because early in the year, more than not, they would lose games in the late innings in those same situations, but it's going their way right now. Palmer got his 10th win, as I mentioned. Stoddard his 14th save. Now tonight, Stone goes for number 17 and a club record 15th in a row to tie Dave McNally. The Brewers also find themselves, well, before we get to the Brewers and the White Sox game last night, because the Brewers are in a little bit of something, let me show you the standings, where we stand now, because the Yankees lost last night. They're still on top, but the Orioles are definitely in second place, 6.5 games back. Now tonight, the Yankees and Brewers play each other. So hopefully Milwaukee will help us out a little bit by knocking off the Yankees and giving us a break, and we can pull it out with Stone winning number 17. We'll make it 5.5. Milwaukee right now in third place, 8 games out, and the Tigers 9 games behind in the race. So the top 4 teams really the only ones in it now with about 2 months to go in the season. Getting back to Milwaukee, the Brewers find themselves in that little bit of a rut, losing last night. Sixto Lezcano's RBI here brought home Cooper to break a 1-1 tie in the 6th, and then after Ogilvy singled to put 2 on, Gantner here sends a line drive to right. Right fielder Harold Baines, right here from Maryland, on his horse chasing it. Gantner got a triple out of it and scored to put the Brew up 4-1. Sox 2 on base in the 6th. Morrison then drove them all home with his 8th home run of the year to tie it 4-4. Then 2 innings later, Ben Ogilvy put one out, which calmed the Comiskey crowd. It was Ben's 26th of the year, and the Sox 8th. Wayne Nordhagen doubled down the line and left to drive in Morrison with the tying run. Well, there's that home run of Ogilvy, his 26th of the year. There's the Sox 8th. Nordhagen doubles down the line and left to drive in Morrison with a tying run, 5-5. And then a little later, pinch hitter Randy Johnson right here, a fly ball to center that brought home Molinaro with another run to give the White Sox a 6-5 lead and a 6-5 win. Now, for several hours last night, the Houston Astros, along with their fans and all concerned, were anxiously holding their breaths while pitcher J.R. Richard was undergoing emergency surgery in a local hospital. Now, Richards had been having problems for some time, even before the All-Star game when he pitched only a couple of innings. And after that, the arm got progressively worse until the club finally put him on the 21-day disabled list back in July 16th. Psychological, physical test didn't show much. He needed rest. Yesterday in the Astrodome, he threw for the first time, suddenly became dizzy and collapsed, rushed by ambulance here to Methodist Hospital, and finally, after several hours, emergency surgery was performed to remove a blood clot from an artery in his neck. Now, at one point, the cardiovascular surgeons were worried about saving his life, but as it turned out, it was all right, and the hospital made a statement after the hour surgery.
And I don't know what time it started.
Richard is recuperating in this intensive care unit. Doctors are pleased with the results of the operation, but it marks the end of Richard's season, which started so brilliantly.
Well, the last word we get now is that he, as the announcer said, he is recuperating. He took my words away, that guy. Hospital officials now say, and it is serious, he suffered a stroke and possible permanent weakening on the left side of his body. In time, that could disappear, but right now it's just rest and wait-and-see situation for J.R. Richard, and we certainly hope that he is all right. Well, turning to local stuff at home here, unless a last-minute miracle occurs, it looks like the Colts will go through the 1980 season without their #1 pick, Curtis Dickey, which would be a shame, I think, for both parties involved. The facts are a little bit confusing on the latest contract offer, and by the way, final one made by the Colts. Apparently, late last night, Jerry Argovitz, Dickey's agent, and Dick Szymanski, the general manager, had verbally agreed to the latest offer, one which the Colts reported to be worth $1.2 million, while Argovitz, who called me this afternoon, said was only worth just around a little bit over $900,000. But then up in that category, really, what's a couple of $100,000 either way? In any case, it was a 5-year deal. First year, $95,000 for Dickey. The last year, $180,000. The 5th year of a guy like Charlie White in Cleveland was $230 to $250, so they're still getting away with a little bit less, plus bonus and incentives, along with a considerable bank loan, which apparently the Colts figured in, but doesn't really come out of their pocket. A minor stumbling block was later agreed to verbally, and that was that if Dickey reached 1,000 yards in rushing in any of his first 3 years, then the Colts would renegotiate years 4 and 5. Szymanski, according to Argovitz, agreed to it verbally. Argovitz, not trusting his word, asked to have it put in writing. Szymanski said he couldn't, which I don't understand. If he agreed to it verbally, you put it in writing. And that's where it broke off. Later, Szymanski called him back with a definite final offer, about 10 or 20 more thousand in the last couple of years. Argovitz said no, and now told me late this afternoon, we're now going to Canada, and that's where it stands. That's the name of that tune. Meanwhile, amidst all the turmoil surrounding the Curtis Dickey negotiations, practice was held as usual today, 2-a-days out at the Goucher. By August 19th, all the NFL rosters will have to be cut down to 60 players, and the Colts, with probably one of the smallest squads in the league right now, already down to 66 players. And you can bet that after Saturday's scrimmage with the Redskins up in Carlisle, the Colts will also make a few more cuts and get down there very close. Each year, hundreds of talented college football players dream of making it with the pros. Most wind up back home selling real estate insurance, but a few fortunate ones, some being in the right place at the right time, make it. And one of those trying right now and has a shot is All-American from Towson State, Randy Bielski. Randy, a kicker from Towson State, also an All-American defensive back. How you doing, buddy? You went through your first scrimmage last week down there against the Redskins. How was it? Were you nervous?
I was a little nervous at first. It felt pretty good once I got started. You know, well, any game you play in, you're a little nervous at first.
Has it been tougher going through the camp? I know you've been around athletes all the time with your father being involved with franchise, but is it different once you get in there, the training and the regimentation and everything? Is it what you expected?
It's exactly what I expected. It's a little bit tougher than, you know, college, and it's real tough, but, you know, it's just something you expect.
Okay, coming back now, we got the kicker, Mickemeyer, you in there. What's your competition? Obviously, Steve has the inside, being the incumbent. How does it stand right now, and how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. My leg's a little weak. It's coming back, and I should know more by this weekend after the scrimmage with the Redskins. I'm sure we'll all get an opportunity to kick and show what we can do up there.
Do you feel a little of the pressure? I know you can kick the ball long and kick it far, and you got a strong leg. Has any of the pressure of being in camp, knowing that, you know, they got to make a decision to cut one way or the other, has that affected you one way or the other? You're kicking strong?
No, I'm just giving 100%. You know, I'm doing the best I can and just trying to give it my best shot and see what happens.
All that racquetball must have helped a little, huh?
Yeah, beating you all the time.
Which is true. I'll get you later. Okay. Hey, listen, Randy, thanks a lot and good luck to you. You're going up to Carlisle, I guess.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay, good luck to you.
Okay, Klaus, thank you.
Thank you. Randy Bielski, live, one of the rookies trying to make it with the Colts. Earlier this week, one of the great tennis players of all time in town promoting the sport that has been his life, promoting a nationwide tennis program for junior players, and that's Jack Kramer. And 59, still going strong. Randy Blair has more on him.
He owns titles at Wimbledon, Forest Hills, and his Sheridan Davis Cup wins. Generally regarded as one of the greatest tennis players ever. Jack Kramer is now 59 and is watching young players in the Congolium Future Champions program. In the 40s and 50s, Kramer was grouped with greats like Don Budge, Frank Sedgman, and Pancho Gonzalez. Today, there are also dominant players, but in Kramer's eyes, there's a difference.
The real thing about today is that there's really 80, maybe to 120 really top-notch players. The 3 guys at the top are really super. There's 8 or 10 guys that can push them very hard according to the kind of courts they play on.
Are players like Borg, McEnroe, and Connors any better than in his day? Jack doesn't think so. He admits, though, their records are more impressive due to the nature of the pro circuit and the fact that their careers haven't been interrupted by things like war. And what about the terrible behaviors seen on the court so often anymore?
Had Budge, Vines, Gonzalez, Perry, myself run into a fellow like that, we'd have gone up the umpire and say, look, this guy either plays tennis or you're going to default somebody, me or him. Now make him play.
How do you want to be remembered?
Well, I like the idea that my record speaks for itself as how well I played. I like to have the feeling that I didn't read too many times that I was a bad acting kid. I was always very proud to come home and look my mom in the eye and say I was a good representative. And then I'm happy to say that I had the foresight about the sport being such a good one, that if it was given a chance, it would be as big as anything in America.
Since Jack conducts clinics now, it was a treat for me to get to hit with him, even though my tennis game is worse than my golf game. Jack, of course, grabbed one of the huge selling rackets that he endorses, and believe it or not, he didn't have anything bad to say about my game, which shows what a kind gentleman Jack Kramer is. Randy Blair, Channel 13, Eyewitness Sports.
I don't remember him, but Jerry and Al were around there when he got his start. That's sports. Hopefully back tonight with news of Steve Stone's 17th win and another Oriole victory. Al?
Yeah, I remember the folks talking about him all the time. Klaus, thank you. Tonight, 36 public school teachers from the land of the rising sun are in Baltimore as part of a 5-week tour of school systems in the United States. Bob Sokoler, Instant Eye are live with one of the Japanese educators at the World Trade Center right now. Bob?
Albert, just a few moments ago, the 36 Japanese teachers arrived here at the Inner Harbor area, and they are right now getting some instructions, being greeted to the city of Baltimore in a proper fashion. One of the interpreters, now, your full name is what?
Takehi, T-A-K-E-H-I.
But we will refer to you as Tak.
Tak, that's Tak.
You've only been here in Baltimore for just a few moments, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
You were in Washington for a couple of days?
Yes, 4 days.
4 days.
4 days.
In New York for a couple of days?
Also 4 days.
So you're learning about the United States?
Yes. We arrived from Tokyo, we arrived in New York on the 21st of this month.
About 10 days ago?
Yes, 10 days ago, yes.
What do you think of the United States?
New York is just like Tokyo. It's very crowded. But I found Boston very agreeable to me because it's not noisy or crowded. It has 2 universities, very famous universities.
How about here in Baltimore? Take a look at the Inner Harbor. We've got the downtown.
Yes. I found downtown a bit dirty.
Where, here?
Yes, on the way here.
Oh, you know what? You know what he's referring to, Al and Jerry? Their bus came through was 45 minutes late coming through Russell Street, the bridge that was out. As it turned out, you had a 45-minute delay getting around all the traffic there. So that's the area that you had a problem with.
Oh, yes.
That was it.
And I found this area very beautiful, very new.
The downtown area?
Yes, downtown.
Yes, it is.
This area.
Well, hopefully, Bob, you'll get a chance to talk to some of the educators there because, you know, there are some real questions you could ask about the school systems here as compared to Japan, and maybe we'll see that at 11 o'clock.
Maybe at 11 o'clock. And again, on behalf of everyone here in Baltimore, welcome to both you and your group here. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bob. Thank you. That was Bob Sokoler with a live Instant Eye report from the World Trade Center. A task force appointed by the governor is looking into state drunk driving laws. Vice President and General Manager Art Kern points out one legal problem that needs careful attention in this Channel 13 editorial.
The drunk driver who ran into this young couple's car and paralyzed their 1-year-old daughter had been arrested 3 other times for drunk driving.
This is not an accident.
This is a
what happened
crime.
to my daughter. It's a whole crime.
Letting a drunk driver back on the road can have tragic results, but odds are it wouldn't happen quite so often if it weren't for judges who are giving some drunk drivers probation before convicting them of being drunk behind the wheel. That probation before judgment doesn't go on the driver's record, and that's a problem. Too often a drunk driver gets off easy because the court doesn't know he's on probation from another drunk driving case. Colonel Thomas S. Smith, Superintendent of the State Police, told us this.
There have been instances in the past, and under the present law it will continue, where people have killed people and continue to drive for a number of years.
The governor has recently appointed a committee to figure out what to do about the state's drunk driving laws. One thing that would help a lot is to ban these off-the-record probations for drunk driving. It's bad enough to give drunk drivers a second chance, but to keep drunk driving off the record only helps to keep drunk drivers on the highways. More on drinking and driving in future editorials.
If you have a comment on this editorial, write to us at Channel 13.
There wasn't much activity today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones average closed down a little under a point this afternoon.
When we continue, a labor union doesn't like the way the networks tell their story, and we'll tell you why.
And if consumers don't like the way their new products operate, Aaron Moriarty says small claims court may not be the answer. Aaron explains next right here on Channel 13's Eyewitness News.
of Aaron. We let her hang here.
No crosstalk?
No cross.
So you won your case in small claims court. Well, the question is whether it's a paper victory or not. Erin Moriarty is with us tonight to explain why you may not always get what you pay for when you take your gripe to justice.
I don't always want to sound like I have bad news for the consumer, so I'll mention the one thing that's designed specifically for the consumer, and that's the small claims court. It only costs you $5 to file a claim. You don't have to hire an attorney, and the decisions of the court are easy to understand. Unfortunately, though, a win at the bench might make you feel good, but it may not make you any richer. In February 1979, James Williams bought a record player from 3D television service that he felt didn't work properly. When he couldn't get his money back, he went to small claims court and won a judgment for $157 against the company and its owner, Archie Bunn. A year later, he still hasn't received any money. How are you feeling about all this, about going to court? You won, and yet you haven't gotten your money.
Well, as I said, I'm a little bewildered and frustrated because, as I said, I mean, you win these things, you know about these things, small court and whatnot, but how do you gain satisfaction? I mean, do you beat on people?
Mr. Williams is one of hundreds of people who have found out that winning in small claims court doesn't automatically put money in your pocket. In fact, it could cost you more in trying to collect it than you actually won.
I've asked several attorneys, and they all say that it's such a small amount of money that they wouldn't want to become involved with it.
Well, it is easier in many cases to get a judgment than to collect on the judgment. Many people come into small claims, they get the judgment. That means a court orders that the claim is ruled in their favor and it's reduced to a judgment. It is the judgment of the court that they have a claim against the defendant for X dollars. Now the defendant says, I've got the judgment, how do I collect it? Many times they go to the next desk to the secretary to pick up the money. They really think that they can get the money in court. They can't.
What you do have to do, if the defendant doesn't automatically pay you, is go back to court and request that some property of the defendant is held until you are paid. That means that the sheriff has to notify the defendant and pick up the property, and that's often a problem.
They told me that I should get a constable to go up and seize whatever effects he had in his business. And of course, I applied for that. It was $10 fee for the seizure. It was almost like a warrant. But the constable's never been able to get into the business.
Although the sheriff indicated to the court that he came here to 3D TV sales 6 times and could never find it open, the very first time I tried calling this morning, I talked to Mr. Bunn. And when we came here now, it's open. So we went back to the court with Mr. Williams to try again.
I haven't been able to get any satisfaction as a result of this judgment. And I wondered, the next procedure, what should I do?
And we found out that there were some other problems a person like Mr. Williams faces.
It seems so easy when they say that you don't need an attorney. In other words, today when I went downstairs in the clerk's office, I understand that they had 4 different papers down there that I could see that were different procedures that I could have continued with had I had the knowledge. But you definitely have to have an attorney, in my judgment.
Well, maybe not. But we found that if you don't know what to ask for, the court clerks may not inform you as to every available option. So be aggressive and ask about supplemental proceedings. That's one way to find out exactly what the defendant owns. Ask about going after the defendant's real estate, bank accounts, cars. If the defendant is an employee, you may be able to collect from his employer. So ask about garnishing wages. It's going to take some work on your part, but that's the only way to get your money. The court won't act as a collection agency.
We'll do everything to help you in your supplementary proceedings, in your attachment on a bank account, in your seizure of the car, but we're not going to initiate anything. If that judgment goes unpaid forever, I don't care. And I think that should be my position.
So what's the best thing for a person to do to collect the judgment? What's the best thing then?
Get a judgment against somebody who has assets.
Well, Mr. Williams' story may have had a happier ending than some. Mr. Bunn told us today that his non-payment of the $157 judgment was an oversight on his part, and he promises to pay it in full within 10 days. We'll let you know what happens. Jerry?
Thank you, Erin. The new Chrysler Corporation's plagued by an old problem tonight, red ink. It's flowing right now at a rate of $536.1 million, the worst loss ever recorded by a U.S. car builder. And Chrysler's second quarter figures, added to those of the competition, make for another record, more than $1.5 billion worth of losses industry-wide since April. Meanwhile, Detroit's trying to grease the wheels of Washington's money machine to assist General Motors. The Motor City wants to help our largest car maker build a new 500-acre assembly plant, and they're asking the feds for a loan to do it. The tab for the plant could run as high as $650 million. And Uncle Sam says that's way above the ceiling for the kind of loan Detroit wants to take out.
Well, the nation's machinists say the three major TV networks are jamming labor's signals. The International Association of Machinists says ABC, NBC, and CBS slant their evening newscast to the corporate point of view, and the laborers say they'll challenge the licenses of the network-owned and operated stations if labor's point of view doesn't get more airtime. ABC and NBC plead not guilty. CBS isn't saying anything about the charge.
Still ahead, Bob Turk previews the first week of August in his 5-day forecast.
And the traditional country camp comes to the city for local youngsters. Oprah Winfrey has the instant eye details next right here on Channel 13's Eyewitness News.
Now, Bob Turk is going to tell you about the weather for 5 days. Is that going to take a lot of time, Robert?
It's going to take about 25 seconds.
All
This
right.
is all I got. For tomorrow, after a pretty muggy night tonight, temperatures in the low 70s tomorrow, some sun, a mixture of sun and clouds, and we could see 93 to perhaps 95 degrees. Good chance of a thunderstorm after 4 o'clock tomorrow into the evening. Saturday and Sunday, it looks like a hazy, hot weekend. Temperatures upper 80s to the low 90s, even hotter down to our south. Salisbury could see 95, 98. Richmond about the same or hotter. And by Monday, should clear out, mostly sunny and 87. Tuesday, a few more clouds and 88 degrees. So the best chances of showers are tomorrow afternoon and each afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. It'll be humid.
All right, Robert, sleep on it. Do something with the weekend. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Won't be
Going to a summer camp is a dream of almost every youngster. But because of finances, for some, that dream will never come true. Oprah Winfrey says the city has come up with an interesting solution.
Here in the heart of Druid Hill Park, it is not unusual to find hundreds of kids skating. After all, skating is a craze now. It is unusual, however, to find them skating around tents set up in the park just for them. This is Camp Concern, the city's first residential camp.
It's unique by being the city first, and we're very proud of it because of the utilization of our existing facility, which certainly is of a value to our taxpayers. Using the facilities that are here, and we do not have to bus our youngsters off a long distance in order for them to enjoy camping of a residential nature. And this is all free to our youngsters.
As you can see, skating is one of the popular pastimes around here. So is swimming and going to Oreo games, tours of the zoo, disco dancing and arts and crafts, and just lots of things to hold your interest.
It's nicer than the other camps I've been to.
Why? Why is it?
Because we had discos and go skating and swimming and stuff.
A great life, huh? What is your name?
We don't have to worry your mother.
You don't have to worry your mother? I know your mother's glad. There are about 200 youngsters here right now living in the park. This is the 4th week of this project. Each child is selected by a volunteer neighborhood coordinator on a first-come, first-served basis.
It's all right, except for when it rains.
Oh, what happens then?
Sometimes tents get flooded.
Oh.
That's all.
But you can handle that.
Yeah.
3 weeks to go now, and 600 kids with a summer they'll probably never forget. Oprah Winfrey, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
I'm Jerry Turner for All Centers and the entire Eyewitness News team. Back tonight at 11 o'clock. Good night, everybody.